Alrighty. Hello, hello, hello. Happy return to regular time. It is Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. And this is just a chill Sunday night stream. I'm Fried Fish. This is Fried Fish Draws. You can call me Justin. But that's my name. You can call me Justin. This is a it's kind of chill stream. We're gonna take it easy. I am a lot. Okay, let me turn that down. Oh my god, woo baby. All right, that should be better. I am a lot more tired than I thought I was going to be. I've been up and at 'em. I've had a crazy day today. I am headed out of town this week, and so I've been trying to get my affairs in order. Just kind of prior to going out, and yeah, it turns out you'd think that extra hour of sleep would really help, but no, I am just exhausted. it's kind of kind of been a crazy day. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I have Clip Studio open. We're gonna color these guys today. That's kind of my main thing. So we're gonna kind of go through some of my current process. I'm sure there's plenty of room to improve, but for right now, I'm just gonna create a canvas, my normal 4x5, 4,000 by 5,000, just massive fucking canvas. And we'll go ahead and import my image, which I got this one here. We'll go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. See how it looks at 100. If it's too jagged, then we'll change it. Actually, I think that looks okay. I think that looks okay. So I've turned this now into a centered a little bit. I want to try to keep this upper edge because I don't have the rest of that drawn. Expand that downward just a little bit. There we go. So we have our image. We're good to go. Okay. So here's what I need to do. Click on the layer. Go to edit. That didn't do what I wanted it to. I've not done this in a minute. Okay. Okay, that's right. Go to layer, go to convert layer into normal blending mode, like that. Now we have a regular layer, and now I can layer rasterize is what I want. Looks fine full screen. Yeah, so I've rasterized the layer. Now I should be able to convert brightness to opacity. So this does something really kind of important. Before I had done this is just a static image. So if I just import the file again, if I just import this picture again, this is just a picture. So if I remove the background layer, it's there, right? It's there. It's white. This is now with the background color removed, just a straight straight up just a black and white picture. Because I scanned this off the computer, or because I scanned this off of paper, it is just doing a white background. And so those two steps I just did are really important because now I have a transparent. I've able to just kind of convert the lines into lines, which is good. That's what I want. I can go ahead and get rid of which one is which? This one. Go ahead and delete that. Okay, so we have our lines. Before I get too much further, I just kind of want to warm up a bit. I've not drawn on here in a hot minute. Yeah, I've been in like a weird spot artistically for the past couple months. That is the same layers before delete that. Where I've kind of just become allergic to drawing digitally. And it's not anything specific. I think it's, I sit here at this desk all day for my day job, right? I'm here, I work on my, what I work on is not super important, but it's not anything fun, right? Not anything all that fun. I'm going to lower that down. There we go. Well, that's much more comfortable. This stand on this thing has like a huge blind spot as far as the angle. You can either have it like way towards you or like way kind of flat. I have it as tall as it'll get in like the flat mode. I kind of need it somewhere in between. I think that if it were just maybe halfway between the tallest in flat mode and the shortest in tall mode, that would be perfect. But this was a relatively cheap, the Huion Canvas 15, 16, something like that. Anyway. Just getting my hand used to movement. I think I lost my train of thought. I am going to be out of town this week. Fly out tomorrow morning. Not super early, but I've been trying to get my house in order because I'm going to be gone for 4 days. Freezing any meat that's going to go bad, getting rid of anything in the fridge, like throwing out my eggs. I have apartment inspections this week, and so it's like, all right, fuck, I guess I gotta clean my bathroom, clean my, a lot of the maintenance work that I did have to do before just sort of gets delayed. All right, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. So on our fill modes, we have quite a few. Fill according to... Yeah, that should do the whole thing. Not a huge fan of that color. How do I do this? How do I do this again? Set as clip to layer below. Let's create a layer. What's the one that gives me the pink? There's one that like lets me I want refer to other layers. I want refer to all layers. Alright. Oh my god, am I gonna have to try to figure this out off stream? I might have to do that. How do you fucking do this, man? Because in theory, I should be able to just fill up this one section. I've done this before. So So that just does the line art, which I don't want. But I do want to refer to for other layers, all layers. Okay. Where is my here? Well, this isn't really how I expected tonight to go. Oh, there we go. Apply to connect to pixels only. That was my problem. Definitely want to close gaps. There we go. That's... Hey, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So I know there's a way to do a gradient. I want to try to get some kind of sky gradient out here. I've done this once before, but oh my goodness. So yeah, I guess the general idea. I might have to play around with this on the plane tomorrow. I have Clip Studio on my iPad. I just need to make sure that Christ alive. Oh, there's a gradient tool. Hello. Hello. There you are. There you are, beautiful. Okay. Let's add a midday sky. Okay, how about from there to there? Wrong way. Cool. Hell yeah. So I can do it like that. Do it like that. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and do some of this other coloring. We'll actually go ahead and fill with transparent again. And now we can go ahead and start maybe doing some of this I think turnip pen's what I want. Honestly, some of these shadows that got left in, I'm kind of okay with because I want shadows there anyway. And, you know, obviously that's something I can work around, but I'm going to go ahead and try to clear some of these out anyway. And hell, I may end up throwing them back in as we go. Because honestly, it put those shadows mostly in good spots. Benefit to my very messy hatching earlier. Where it pretty much just left the gray where I wanted it, right? So we'll go ahead and start doing some localized color. The way I kind of approach a lot of this is try a lower tolerance. I'm gonna go ahead and get like a brown color. Okay, so I need to increase the tolerance. Increase the close gap. Obviously this works better the cleaner your line art is. There we go. That's more the speed that I'm going for. And what I'll probably try to do on some of these more heavily hatch sections is I'm just going to go ahead and I really like the turnip pen. It's just kind of a nice juicy pen. Without any kind of like transparency. If you use like some of the marker ones, you end up with a situation where I'm gonna try to find it. Maybe it's not here. Maybe it's a Procreate issue. But I've seen it before with some of these where you try to like here, this Mamio ink, you end up with no, that's actually just an issue with that brush, huh? And a lot of this is just kind of standard, I hate to call it anime inking techniques. It's more just your classic digital art, you know. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm doing anything like super impressive or new. G is fill. That's a weird one. And so, obviously when you're making your art in a digital program, you're probably designing it in such a way where you're going to paint it at the end. You kind of have an idea in mind of like where you're going to fill in. You'll have like nice open shapes so that when you have a situation like this, you don't end up with all of this hatching that you have to try to like get around. This is very much a situation where your where the traditional line art, like as I had created it, kind of just creates like an issue, right? Because my main goal is I want to make an image that looks really good, traditionally, just without any color, on its own, black and white. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to try to fill these gaps. Because I like intentionally left a little bit of some gaps here on the horizon just to kind of give it a nice look, right? So now there we go. That's what I wanted. Well, I didn't. Okay, pen. And like this gray probably won't end up being the color. It's just me trying to get some kind of fills down. Let me get the brown back. Let me go there and there. Let's see how purple this ends up. Oh, that's actually pretty purple. That is quite a bit more purple than I was expecting it to be. That is a lot more purple than I was expecting it to be. To saturate that a bit. That's better. See if I can't lighten that up a little bit more. That's going to be all of it. Okay. What I should be doing is kind of every part becomes its own. Just how that's going to be, huh? Yeah, so this is why you do separate layers for each of your colors. Well, I could just do that. No. I had a bunch of things listed out that I wanted to talk about tonight, just to kind of keep the conversation flowing. And I don't know, man. It's. We'll see how much further I get. This might be privated. It's not even so much about the count. Not even so much about the viewer count. I don't really care all that much about that. If we're gonna be like completely honest, I don't really care about the viewer count. It's more about I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I've been at this. I've been at stuff all day. I've unfortunately not been doing much art this weekend. I really, because I'm gonna be gone. I kind of ended up in a situation where I had all these damn chores to do, and you know, had to get those done before I could even come here and pretend to have a good time, right? And now I'm here having a good time, or trying to. You know, it's really funny. You know, you look at my stream yesterday, and I yapped nonstop for almost 2 hours. That's hard to do. It's actually pretty damn hard to do. Is that one of my lines? Was that one of the ones that? Yeah, apparently that's a line that was there. Go ahead and clean that up. Yeah, MI8 makes sense just to clean up some of these little stray jaggies, right? Make the line art just just the smallest bit cleaner. I actually tend to like my line art, even though it is just like a little bit on the rough side. I think it's one of the things that, like, I don't want to call it art style, because it's not really that. Buddy, please don't go back behind the computer. Come on. Come on. Come on. My cat is causing trouble, as he is so often trying to do. But yeah, it's not so much about like art style. I don't want to I'm not going to be one of the people who say, "Oh yeah, my sloppy lines are part of my art style." But like, I will say that my sloppy lines are sloppy in a way that I've never seen any other artist be sloppy with their lines. Right? So for me, it's less about, oh, my lines are sloppy, and more, hey, my lines are sloppy in a way that is uniquely me. And to me, that's a lot more important than, you know, art style. Like art style, art style, at least in that sense of the word, will clean up over time. It's one of those things where the more you draw, the more deliberately you draw, the more slow and intentional you take your art, your time, the less kind of fucked up and messy your lines become. Right? Some people never actually get like super clean lines. Right? It really becomes just a matter of intention. Are your lines the way you want them to be? And I'd say that's, 50-50. 50-50. I'd say for the most part, most of the strokes I make are the ones that I want to. It's a lot better hit rate than it used to be, right? Much better hit rate on my line quality compared to where I was 2 years ago. And like I still consider myself a beginner artist. I'm kind of in the 4th year of my art journey. I've never been like a super consistent artist. Just permanent eraser. Some of these jagged lines. But like even in like high school when I was drawing all the time, I would say that my art still looks maybe more similar to that than I'd like it some of the time. I definitely see art that's still me, I guess is the way to say it. Right, it's still very much my art. There's similarities in it that kind of I see dating all the way back to when I was drawing in like middle school and high school. And it's not really about not being good at art, which I wouldn't say I'm. Like, I would not call myself the greatest artist who's ever lived or anything like that. I would say that I've got a lot of room to improve, but whenever I try to like speak realistically about where I'm at artistically, I get you're being humble, don't talk bad about yourself, and it's like, no, I'm not trying to talk bad about myself. I'm simply trying to give myself the kind of criticism that I actually like really want. I don't know any like people who'd be actually willing to criticize me and say, hey, this is working, this is not. You need to do better here. This is your heads look fucked. Your heads are fucked up here. Try doing it this way. And part of that is I just don't really have friends who know that stuff, right? That's part of it. I spec'd into being a musician, not being a visual artist. And I came into becoming a visual artist at like 28. I kind of went back into digital art at like 28, so it's not like I have a whole lot of any like IRLs who like do this or like illustrating. I don't really have anyone that I can just talk shop art-wise with anymore. for a little while at least, I had a one of my closest friends was doing art alongside me, and he got busy. He got married. I'm not saying his marriage was the reason he quit doing art, but you know, he got busy. Life got a hold of him. The way life gets a hold of so many people, and like I said before, I spec'd into being a musician. I ended up becoming a musician. I was a musician in high school rather than an artist. And so while I did draw, and like there's still surviving art of mine from high school where I would just draw silly shit, kind of like this, but worse. Like I took my one and only high school art class, my senior spring semester, like my last semester of high school. Like, yeah, we'll do some art. We'll fucking do art. Hell yeah, I'll learn perspective or whatever. I drew some like kind of cool, like abstract perspective stuff. I think my parents still have those hanging up in my old bedroom, which is very sweet of them. Which honestly, I'm kind of happy about because, you know, they weren't that great, but I did kind of like them. You know, I'm always hesitant to talk bad about my own, like my old art. Maybe I'm weird because I feel like the much more common thing to do is like talk shit about your art. Be like, oh man, I sucked so bad. This shit's, this is awful. This is god awful. And like even like when I don't, even when it's like something I drew in the 7th grade, where I was not really focusing on the art fundamentals or on any of like the important part as far as like making art that's visually comprehensive or like trying to fit the vision I had in mind. That just wasn't a thing that I cared about, right? In 7th grade, I was just making my comic. I just had my little comic guy, and I was going about it, right? I didn't care how good it was. I didn't care what people really thought about it. I was just sort of like, I had this like cool action man guy. I forgot what I called him. I drew all sorts of stuff in like elementary school. Me and my friend Mark, we had this like, I guess you'd call it like an OC situation, like a story where like the two of us were the main characters, but we had like cool names like Flare and Torch. I was Torch, he was Flare. I honestly thought Flare was the cooler name. I gave him I gave my friend the cooler name out of the two of us. And we would use that as an excuse, and we would come up with ideas to essentially go over to each other's houses and LARP. That's kind of what it was. We were just sort of LARPing. This was back when you could actually run around the neighborhood with sticks and do that kind of stuff, and people would be like, hey, where's your parents? Unfortunately, Mark's no longer around. But he I don't really want to get into that, but unfortunately, Mark is no longer around. We stopped being friends in high school. Yeah, there was that kind of fireside thing we had in elementary school. My friend Mark, in 7th grade, I had this like Action Man comic thing I was writing in my biology class, actually. And that was a crazy situation. I was seated next to a girl that I had this huge fucking crush on. It was like it was a weird state because I was like at this table with the girl I had a huge crush on, and like right next to me or right in front of me were like 2 of her best friends. All of these girls are like insanely fucking popular. They were part of the popular girl clique, and I didn't really care. It was that was kind of the cool thing. It's like I didn't actually care that much that, you know, they were nice enough to me. So like, yeah, I just worked on my comic. I didn't really think a lot about people's like opinions on me or anything, and you know, I wish that had continued, right? I don't know what my point is. I'm just sort of rambling. That's, you know, that's what you're paying for. You get what you pay for. You get my kind of crazy rambles while I clean up the line art on this and not really color it. So let me do the reverse. Let me go ahead and need a bigger brush. I'm going to try to I realistically only need to do this on the borders, and I can just sort of get a big brush and take the rest out. Just kind of doing the outline, right? There's almost certainly a better way to do what I'm doing right here. I don't know what that is. It's something I will try to figure out between, you know, as I do more of these, because I think my plan ultimately is to have this be like kind of my regular process here. Is, you know, I'm not really a digital art guy, right? That's kind of the hidden truth, is that I'm not really a digital art guy. My friend Ian, he is a digital art guy. He is absolutely a Procreate person. He's not, he does, you know, being pure digital, you don't really have to deal with a lot of your challenges are different, right? out the layer. This is probably not the most effective way to do this. The better way, most likely, is to do your line art and then, or do your coloring on a new layer and then put the gradient in at the end. And then all of your actual like flats are sitting on top of your background gradient. That's probably how you should actually do this, right? Oh, there he goes, back behind my computer. Come on. Are you gonna come through? Yeah, come on. Alright, 1 second, guys, while I try to help this cat figure out where he's supposed to be. Hello? Are you just gonna be back here behind my tablet? Okay, you can be here, you just can't be making a fuss. Alright, I should actually probably do that. Just there. I don't know, man. I am wondering if because I'm really tired. I've just sort of been rambling. Let's see. Let's kind of get through some of these subjects, right? So I think for me, my challenge right now is kind of keeping up the momentum I had last month. You know, we're already day 2 of the month. I've probably not spent more than 30 minutes drawing in like a week. Today I really wanted to do some art. That's more or less not happened. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm absolutely goddamn exhausted, so I will be very surprised if I actually do anything at this point. So what I think I want is I want like a really like desaturated everything. I just sort of want like all my colors to be extra desaturated. And then I can try to figure out better base colors later. But I'm just kind of starting from a point of like low saturation. Go ahead and do the opposite of what we did before. We'll keep the turnip pen, but we're just gonna kind of what we were doing before, but I'm gonna do separate layers for each color. So all of the wood is going to be one color. And like what I have to keep in mind is I already have tone in place from the cross hatching, or from, from the hatching. And so I want my shadows to kind of be complementary to everything there. I'm gonna use my hatching as a guide on how to where to put my shadows, but also I'm keeping some of it just as texture, right? I'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Oh, I've got the wrong pen. I want this one. Yeah, so one of the things I want to try to figure out over the next little while is getting line art, or figuring out how to actually do my traditional line art in a way that looks halfway decent both. In the black and white, you know, no lines, no nothing, just pure. You know, ink on Bristol. Get it to a point where the image looks good that way, while also being in a place where I can ink it without it looking too messy, right? I think the key thing is just desaturating. And I'm going to try to keep everything nice and desaturated. And this is just a general problem with my art, is I tend to go really saturated on things. Let me try to pull open one. Recent. Here, I can pull one open. Oh, are we really gonna... So, for whatever reason, I'm on a newer version of Clip on my other computer. And if I save something on that computer, I'm unable to open it as like an unreadable, unsupported file format. Let's see if Hill will open. Yeah. I wonder if it's from anything I did on the iPad or anything I did on the Mac, or for whatever reason these files don't like to play along with each other. And so I may have to upgrade this specific version of Clip at some point. Or just figure out why they aren't playing around or playing along. Will Big open? Big will not open. Okay. That's fine. Anyway, yeah, I want to try to get to a point where I can have line art that looks really nice black and white like this, but then as you apply, it won't really like interfere if I want to apply colors. And so what I think that ultimately ends up meaning is I'm gonna have to like really, really, really dial back with all of this, all the hatching and everything. Obviously have some, but like there's a version here like on this dwarf where I didn't do all the cross hatching on the jacket. I kind of kept it open. And suddenly that becomes a lot easier to color. Like this one, I bet would actually be pretty easy to color, because the lines for what they are actually pretty clean. I have the heavy shadows where I want them. I have like lots of kind of open space. I could put in colors. I could put in like alternate shading, and that would be okay. This one as well. I think this one is kind of more or less how I need to do it. Right. Now, there's a world, I think, and I would have to play around. I don't know if I do this on screen, where I take this black and white map and I do a gradient map against it. So let me try this right now. Let me go ahead and see if I can't do gradient mapping. Where the hell is that? Here, let me rasterize this layer first. Okay, now it's a normal layer. Rasterize it. So I don't want to necessarily convert this to opacity because I have all of these like nice gradients here. I have this like super nice gradient here, like all these like middle grays and whatnot. And so let me go ahead and duplicate this. That way I've got the original if I need it. Now I want to should learn how to do this, right? Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to upload this picture onto wherever the fuck they're gonna put it, right? Tonal correction, gradient map. They have all sorts of skies. Oh, that got wild. Sepia tone it. Okay. So, tonal correction, gradient map. Make it pink. Oh, that like really like takes away any of the other colors, makes it true like black and white. That's kind of nice. Like as a so that's not gonna work. The sunset purple, at least unless I set a specific, until I create a gradient map, right? Which is probably something I'll have to do. Just as far as getting some like really nice color sets to use in here. The sunset purple might be the best looking one because you kind of have this nice like orange, like bright yellow to dark. I actually like how the light end works. But anyway. Rasterize this layer. Now I can do tonal correction. I actually kind of like that. I kept the white. We could try to edit this a little bit further. Tonal correction. Let's go ahead and just up the saturation. That wasn't what I wanted. What I actually want is I want to do a brightness and contrast. Brightness down a little bit, contrast up a little bit. Then if I level correction, I think is what I want. That isn't what I want. Oh my god. Okay. We're just playing around, man. This is kind of fun. Alright, I lost track of where I was. Posterization. I don't know what that means. Oh, here we go. Red. I can actually try to take the reds down just a lot. I don't know. I think that's gonna just about do it for me. There was some other stuff I wanted to talk about. I'm how I'm gonna try to maintain art practice. I've not done a whole lot of art lately, but I wanted to try to, try to get some stuff done, even though I'm gonna be away. It's probably gonna mostly be sketchbook stuff. I might try to bring my iPad and play around in there. I think for me the important thing when you try to do that is just making sure you're making time for it. I was recently away last weekend, and trying to make art there just sort of didn't work. And I think what was different between that and previous attempts is yeah, that's kind of what I was looking to do. There we go. I was out really late all those nights. I didn't really have like super good intention of, oh yeah, I'm like, I wasn't in a good environment for it, right? So there's a key thing, like even if you're like away, right? Trying to set up a place for you where you can kind of feel comfortable to just sort of like do your thing and create art, right? And that's not always super easy. For whatever reason, I think hotel rooms are perfectly fine. You're just kind of like in your own space. But if you're at like your relative's kitchen table, that's a little less private, right? And so in that latter case, it's a lot more difficult just to like say, oh yeah, I'm gonna. At least for me, it is one of those things where I get a little self-conscious, right? So I think for this week, because I'm in a hotel room, because I will have a hotel room, because I will be up fairly early in comparison to the time zone, I will have a lot of time to just sort of like work, right? So I've got a couple sketchbooks I'm bringing with me. I've got some, I don't know if I call them finished pieces, but like actual sketchbook drawings, projects, like an actual like finished piece, just kind of in my sketchbook. So I got that I'm working on. I've got plans this month. I really want to try to do expression study. When we talked about it yesterday, I kind of went into very hard detail about, I need to work on my expressions, try to make those seem more realistic and believable and exaggerated. So I will probably spend some time working on that this week. Adding in some gesture drawing, like here's the thing, like drawing at the airport isn't something I feel super comfortable doing. Drawing on the plane definitely isn't something I feel all that comfortable doing. I could probably work on inking that one thing. Maybe I can try to get that post out by Tuesday or Wednesday. But I think for me the key is making sure I'm just showing up every day regardless. And then I do want to try to maintain at least a post a week. Instagram is one of those things where it doesn't really matter, but I saw really good growth last month with Inktober, and I kind of want to keep that up. Even if I'm not going to post daily like I was in October, I still think that if I can post every week, and I can do a carousel, and maybe I can try to figure out reels this month, just enough to like stay in people's feeds. I think that's that's an admirable goal, especially like trying to go from a super structured art challenge back to just sort of free form working on art kind of thing. So, and then part of that, I do want to try to start doing kind of a weekly stream. Let you know, maybe aim for something a little more productive than these past couple have been. It's been good just to kind of chat, right? But you know, I think waking up on Saturday morning, cracking open the art tablet, hanging out for a few hours, just cup of coffee, work on your own thing while I work on mine. Share my thoughts. I think that's probably the best thing to do. So I'm gonna try to keep the Saturday morning slot. I feel like that's a good one. You know, maybe that becomes Sunday mornings. It just sort of depends. It sort of depends on how crazy my Friday nights get, right? So, yeah, I think I need to go to bed. It's 10:30. I got a lot of stuff I have to do right first thing in the morning, so I can go to the airport stress free. I'm sure you'll see me around. I'll try to post something on Instagram a little bit later this week. I'm sure I will be posting stories as I find some time to draw and find some time to work on stuff that maybe isn't stuff that isn't, you know, quality enough to actually be a post, you know, stories and stuff like that. And then between now and then I'll try to figure out what we'll do in stream next weekend. So I do want to be more productive than I've been right now. So that's kind of the goal. I'm gonna maybe try to work out some of the process stuff with this, and then we'll come back and actually really truly give these pirates what for, like actually really color them. But yeah, for now, I think I've yapped for long enough. If you are watching the VOD and you got this far, holy crap, you're a beautiful soul. Thank you. Anywho, make sure that you take some time today. Sure you take some time today and pull out your sketchbook or pull out your iPad or your guitar or whatever and make something today. And I will see you guys next time. All right. Later.